Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, must start by saying how thankful I am for this opportunity as the People's Prime Minister returning from representing Guyana in Africa and being given the opportunity to join the debate at this late stage. Mr. Speaker, the President, as you know, is in Africa, and I've utilized my privilege to delay being sworn in as acting President so that I can deliver and address the people of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, as the leader of the House, I am duty bound to be part of this debate. And Mr. Speaker, it is with immense honor and pride that I stand here today to support this national budget that was presented by our senior minister in the office of the President with responsibility for finance, the Honorable Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh. Mr. Speaker, 1 year ago, we implemented Budget 2023 with a focus on, and I quote, improving lives today, building prosperity for tomorrow, end of quote. Now we continue with our strategic and holistic vision for Guyana and for our people by, and I quote, staying the course, building prosperity for all, end of quote. With the groundbreaking, historic, and again transformational budget 2024, which totals 1.146 trillion Guyana dollars. Mr. Speaker, this is a figure entering the trillion-dollar budget era that has sent shivers throughout the opposition. Shivers. They're still shivering. But, Mr. Speaker, there will be no turning back. This is just the first of many trillion-dollar budgets to come. Mr. Speaker, as the biggest budget ever in our country's history, and the first to exceed $1 trillion, the allocations in this budget, all form, you will hear shortly, all form part of the necessary and imperative plans of our government to continue to usher in a prosperous and positive future for all Guyana and all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, as we're all well aware, and as you should have heard from my colleagues on this side of the House who presented earlier throughout the week, the state of affairs of Guyana was dire when our government assumed office in August 2020. We have returned our country and our people to a state of hope. The people of Guyana, yes, we have raised their expectations. That is natural. And through our budgets, 2020 to 2024, we've continued to manage those expectations and deliver to the people as promised in our manifesto. Mr. Speaker, before August 2020, our nation was grappling with numerous challenges: crumbling infrastructure, lagging standards and quality of services across every sector, total neglect with zero opportunities for economic growth and improvement of the lives of our people. Not to mention the mismanagement of the COVID-19 pandemic in Guyana. So our government knew that we had our work cut out for us to turn it all around so that our country and people can begin to benefit as they truly deserve from a government that not only talks the talk, but can walk the walk. Our government's commitment remains steadfast. That is to transform the country into a model of progress and prosperity for the rest of the world to see. And Mr. Speaker, with this budget, we'll continue to do just that. Mr. Speaker, our efforts from August 2020 to date have fast-tracked Guyana towards that goal. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, this $1 trillion budget is more than just about distributing wealth. Somebody referred to it, a previous speaker, as a stand and stone budget. Mr. Speaker, our budget is a strategic investment in our country's foundation for the future. As is evident, the majority which is allocated to infrastructure development is pivotal in creating a robust framework for sustained growth throughout Guyana. Roads, bridges, and energy projects are not just constructions. They are lifelines that connect our people and drive economic vitality. Our people, both PPPC and APNU AFC supporters, have embraced our government's infrastructural and other projects. They like to talk about boots on the ground, members of the opposition. But in addition to having your boots on the ground, have your ears to the ground and listen to the people. Mr. Speaker, we have moved Guyana to a stage where the citizens are participating in the development of their country and their communities. Go and speak to the people. Go to the communities. They're thanking us for all the interventions, the new roads, the development and repairs to existing roads. Go and speak to them. Everybody loves to talk about the Heroes Highway. Go to Diamond and Grove and Craig and talk to the people, and they can tell you how it is easier now to get into Georgetown and to get back home after work in the afternoons. Go and speak to the people. Go and speak to the people. They can spend longer times with their family and still reach to work on time, and they can leave work, pick up a few things at the market, and get home to help their children with homework and to have family life as it should be here in Guyana. So this is not a sand and stone budget. Mr. Speaker, 2024 budget consists of concrete plans that are part of our government's comprehensive vision for our holistic development. Beyond infrastructure, significant allocations are directed generously to all sectors to ensure that through our country's rapid development, every citizen will benefit from our newfound wealth. Every citizen. Mr. Speaker, I wish to highlight as well that the past 4 years have seen a consistent increase in our budget. This trajectory reflects our government's dedication to addressing the pressing needs of our citizens. education, and healthcare have seen substantial boosts, lifting our people out of poverty and empowering them with the tools to thrive in a rapidly evolving world. We have made substantial investments in agriculture and energy, bolstering the capability to better utilize the strength of our country's natural resources towards a sustainable future. Mr. Speaker, this is all part of a holistic vision of growth. Our responsibility is to manage the oil revenues wisely, ensuring that every sector thrives. As we continue to reiterate, we will not throw back and depend on oil and gas to move our country forward and achieve our vision of a prosperous future for our people and our country. We have repeatedly said that the oil and gas revenues must be carefully managed and used to enable the other sectors to expand so that the Guyanese from all walks of life can reap the benefits. Mr. Speaker, this budget is a testament to our commitment to building a nation that benefits from its natural resources and uses them strategically for sustainable growth. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, against this backdrop, I'm ordered to make my presentation on the four programmatic areas that fall under the auspices of the Prime Minister. As you know, Mr. Speaker, this is not a Prime Minister without a portfolio. This is a real Prime Minister, the People's Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I am proud to be overworked on behalf of the people as the Prime Minister of this country. Mr. Speaker, with regards to power generation, the allocation and utilization of our resources in this domain result from the recognition that power generation is the lifeblood of our development, impacting every facet of our daily lives and the prosperity of generations to come. The gas to energy project, Mr. Speaker, I begin my presentation by bringing your attention to the monumental strides made by the Gas to Energy Task Force in shaping the future of Guyana through the transformative gas to energy power generation project. Mr. Speaker, this project is significant for all Guyanese because of the positive impacts it will have, allowing for cheaper and more affordable electricity at approximately 50% less cost when it is completed. Every Guyanese will be paying 50% less than they're paying for electricity now. And Mr. Speaker, I must add that there has not been an increase in the charge for electricity since what they were paying pre-COVID-19. This is the government, the people-centered, people-caring government that provided the billions of dollars to ensure that every Guyanese continue to pay the same rate for electricity that they've been paying prior to our assumption of office. Just imagine if the PPPC was not in government. Just imagine. I know you don't want to imagine. Even those on the other side don't want to imagine that. Because they're benefiting from the same measures they're benefiting from. So they're happy that we're in government. They're happy that we are bursting our brains, the same four men around a small table with plenty papers, bursting the brains to ensure that the negative impact as to what is happening throughout the world is not passed on to the people of Guyana. At least you can say thank you, sirs. You can say thank you, sirs. Mr. Speaker, the Gas to Energy Task Force has made substantial progress in the integrated power plant and NGL facilities, with 6.8% of balance of plant site preparation already completed. Significant progress has also been made in the engineering and fabrication of gas turbines, steam turbines, and GSU transformers. Mr. Speaker, transmission lines and substation project is progressing nicely, including the completion of the land clearing and geotechnical works at substation locations and the scheduled white sand filling of Goodwalking that was completed in December. Mr. Speaker, in 2024, the Gas to Energy Task Force is poised to maintain its steadfast commitment to the seamless execution of activities across its supervised projects. Our government's focus on monetizing gas reserves is evident through the drafted and submitted discussion paper, seeking input from citizens to shape the national gas strategy. Mr. Speaker, the incorporation of citizen feedback will play a pivotal role in finalizing the strategy. Mr. Speaker, building on the progress made in the previous year, the Gas to Energy project is on track for startup, supported by advancements in onshore and offshore pipeline installations. The continuity of installation campaigns and development initiatives in 2024 underscores the sustained effort to bring this transformative project to fruition before the next election in Guyana, which is due by the end of 2025. That itself is sending shivers again in the opposition. The fact that the gas energy project will be completed and will be delivering electricity at 50% of what we're paying for, all Guyanese are paying for. That itself is sending shivers. And it is very cold in here, but it's sending shivers. That is sending shivers. Mr. Speaker, in relation to the works of our energy agency that is continuing to advance the implementation of our clean energy and renewable energy program, we have seen tremendous progress over the reporting period. Between 2020 and 2023, our government significantly expanded its investments in solar photovoltaic technology, witnessing a remarkable 173% increase in installed solar PV capacity from 5.3 megawatts to 14.6 megawatts throughout Guyana. The growth was achieved from strategic additions each year, including the Mabaruma solar PV farm, solar PV systems at government buildings, solar mini-grids at various locations. In 2023 alone, Mr. Speaker, a substantial increase of 6.6 megawatts occurred, driven by projects like the Bartica solar PV farm, completion of solar mini-grids, and widespread distribution of solar home system. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2024 continues the momentum with plans for solar farms to be completed in this year in Madhya and Wakanam. Additional solar home systems will be distributed, and the development of solar mini-grids and rooftop solar for government buildings project will be continued. Mr. Speaker, I wish to report to this House that 19 communities spanning regions 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, and 10 have benefited from the installation of solar PV-powered mini-grids. I was As Prime Minister, I proudly visited those communities. I proudly visited those communities and handed over those solar PV mini-grid systems to the communities. And one can only feel humbled. One can only feel humbled by the response of the people in those communities to this, our government, a government that is caring. The people remain thankful to our government. The people have seen the light. They have literally seen the light because many of them were in darkness. And here we have mini-grids being handed over to communities, free of cost, provided by the government, the people-centered, caring government. Mr. Speaker, these are projects that we will continue to deliver to the people. Over 28,000 household solar systems were already delivered to over 120,000 people throughout Guyana benefiting from them. And more will be delivered in 2024 because the budget, the 1.146 trillion budget, caters for the continuation of these projects. Mr. Speaker, the PV systems will serve the essential social, healthcare, educational facilities, including schools, health center, village offices, multi-purpose buildings, meeting halls, public living quarters, and households. This has transformed the lives of people throughout our hinterland and riverine area. Just go and speak to the people, boots on the ground and ears to the ground. And the people are saying there's more they can do now with the light that is available. More hours of production for them. More hours of studies for their children to write their exams. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to deliver to the people. And there are so many projects I can keep going on and on about under this area. The 1.5 Kumu hydropower project and the 0.7 megawatt Moka projects will come on stream in just over a year from now. And that will satisfy all the electrical needs in addition to the generators and the solar farm at Letem. That is to satisfy all the electrical needs for that area, making it conducive for investment. Investment from the people who live there, investment from Georgia, and investment from across our frontiers. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to invest in renewable energy and greater use of renewable energy. We will continue in the sense that we've also find the time, money, and efforts to invest in the installation of electric vehicle charging stations in regions 3, 4, and 6. And that project will continue in 2024 and onwards. Mr. Speaker, we have just about 120 electrical vehicles in Guyana. And by installing these EV charging stations, that itself, along with the other measures, income tax relief, excise tax relief, will encourage more and more Guyanese to purchase, to import EV vehicles in Guyana. Mr. Speaker, in 2024, the budget allocations will allow us to construct an additional 5 solar mini-grids throughout Region 9, at Kotoka, Morarinao, Yupukari, Napi, Awarinao, benefiting an additional 4,700 of our people. And this project, with an additional $150 million that is designated for renewable energy intervention in over 42 locations, will continue in regions 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Not to mention another important project, the 3-megawatt solar PV installation at Chedi Jagan International Airport, which will be operationalized this year. Mr. Speaker, the Guyana Power and Light has ramped up its gross generation capacity from 1,30,288 megawatt hours in 2022 to an estimated 1,179,000 megawatt hour in 2023. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to invest in GPL to improve in the short term its continued supply of stable electricity, which will get better with every day to the people of Guyana, and to bring into service areas that are underserved and unserved through 2024. So in 2024, Mr. Speaker, we plan to continue along the trajectory of successful power generation by utilizing the budgeted allocations for strategic and transformative projects. Mr. Speaker, might I remind the Honorable House that when the PPP took office in August 2020, we inherited a bankrupt GPL due to gross mismanagement of the company because, of course, a visionless bunch of elites who are too occupied and unbothered about the plights of our people. All their work consisted of was that they could grab for themselves during their tenure, which included a blatant attempt to rig the elections in front of the entire world. Mr. Speaker, with regards to the Hinterland Electrification Company, Inc., in 2020, upon taking office, significant intervention was required as critical generators in Matthews Ridge, Madia, Port Kaituma, Lethem required major overhaul. Additional generators were procured for Matthews Ridge, Lethem, Port Kaituma, Mabaruma to meet growing needs. Between 2021 and 2023, projects were implemented to provide electricity access to over 700 additional households in unserved communities near Mabaruma, Madia, Port Kaituma, Matthews Ridge, and Kokwani. Mr. Speaker, key achievements included the procurement, again, of new generators for Port Kaituma, Mabaruma, and Lethem, improving reliability for numerous households and benefits. Mr. Speaker, in 2023, notable achievements were accomplished in the energy infrastructure projects. The upgrade of the 2.3 kV network to 13.8 kV at Linden, and I repeat, at Linden, involved successful material supply and execution of upgrade construction works. Upgrade of the Linden substation at Linden saw the completion of the construction of the substation building and the supply and installation of switchgear. Other achievements included the construction of a distribution network to 4 Mile, Port Kaituma, procurement of a main power transformer for Madia, and the procurement of line hardware for network extension, Port Kaituma. Annual electricity subsidies to residents of Region 10, a predominantly African Guyanese community that is known as the support base of the opposition, have been offset by the current government at an annual input of 4 billion Guyana dollars. Total subsidies amount to over 100 billion since its inception, and it must be noted that this is the only geographic and administrative region benefiting from such a subsidy. The same region has received $7 billion on the local budget for 2024, an increase of 100% since 2020.
Honorable Prime Minister, to power you to a conclusion, we will need an extension.
Mr. Speaker, may the Honorable Prime Minister be given time to conclude his presentation, please.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Prime Minister.
Thank you for the extension. Mr. Speaker, there are so many success stories that occurred starting with August 2020 assumption of office by our administration, the PPPC government. I have noted that I have not bored anyone so far by stating all the progress that we would have made. Mr. Speaker, telecommunications, very important that I mention the liberalization of the telecommunications sector and the tremendous benefit that has been accrued to the people of Guyana. Private sector investment in the sector increased by 40% between 2020 and 2023, from 10.5 billion to 14.6 billion. Mobile subscription grew by 11% between 2020 and 2022, from 665,000 to 746,000. Broadband subscription overall grew by 15% over the period. Fixed broadband subscription grew by some 36%, from 91,000 to 124,000. Mr. Speaker, these developments demonstrate the benefits accruing to Guyana from government's execution of this policy as operators step up their capacity and offerings to give the best value for the consumer's dollar. In 2021 and 2022, we have accelerated rollout of high-speed LTE networks as we release premium spectrum in the 700 megawatts to operators. Mr. Speaker, I had the privilege of witnessing and symbolically participating in the landing of Guyana's latest submarine fiber optic cable, aback Marriott Hotel in Kingston. The latest landing brings to 3 the number of submarine fiber cable connecting Guyana to the internet, and the investor expects the cable to become operational this year. The benefits expected include reduction in data prices as operators further compete with each other that will benefit the people of Guyana. Increased resilience, since operators now have the opportunity to use each other's facilities as backup routes should their own cable become unavailable. The newest offering, Mr. Speaker, will add a minimum of 13 terabytes of capacity to our international internet capacity, something that we will not be able to utilize fully based on current growth over the next 25 years. Mr. Speaker, with regards to government's own national data management program, we continue to build out the national data management infrastructure to benefit the wider Guyanese community. When we took office in 2020, since the liberalization of the October 5th, 2020 Telecommunications Sector Act, there's been a significant positive impact here. Bandwidth has seen a remarkable reduction of over 90% in 2023, highlighting the benefits of breaking the monopoly. The National Data Management Center, the network uptime in 2020 was at 97%, and this continuous investment over the years has improved to over 98% to present. The upcoming investments in 2020 include restoring the secondary data center, which experienced failure in 2022. Mr. Speaker, hinterland connectivity has also witnessed significant improvements from 2020 to 2023. Bandwidth via the government-owned satellite system has increased from 1 megabit per second when we took office to 10 megabits per second and reaching as high as 50 megabits per second in some cases now. The unlimited and uncapped service provides residents in the hinterland and remote communities with access to basic messaging and online connectivity. Mr. Speaker, there's so many more success stories, but I'm conscious of the fact that my time is limited. The Industry and Innovation Unit has continued to educate the Guyanese public as to the digital age. Mr. Speaker, building capacity is integral to developing a knowledge-based digital society and a country that can compete in a global economy. This is why significant resources are allocated to providing ICT training to communities across Guyana. Mr. Speaker, our PPPC government took office in 2020, and insufficient number of persons were trained in ICT via coding camps and ICT trainers in selected communities. From 2020 to date, over 3,200 persons have been trained in communities across Guyana through several ICT training programs, including community-level basic ICT training, innovation camps, train the trainers, Guyanese Girls Code, and training for persons who are blind. Mr. Speaker, in 2024, the I&I unit will be training a further 1,500 persons in a variety of areas from basic to advanced level, covering topical areas such as basic IT, animation, coding programming, artificial intelligence, and IT for persons with disabilities, to name a few. Mr. Speaker, we will continue to invest in the I&I unit as it continues to bring ICT knowledge to Guyanese throughout the length and breadth of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, with regards to the Department of Public Affairs and associate agencies, we'll continue in what we started in August 2020 to provide opportunities for training and development and capitalization in a strategically positioned manner to ensure that the Department of Public Affairs and associated agencies continue to build and improve in its operations for 2024 and 2025 and beyond. Mr. Speaker, disaster preparedness has acquitted, the Civil Defense Commission has acquitted itself well in 2023, and with continued budgetary support, we see this agency will continue to expand its operations to ensure that at every regional administrative level, our officials that govern are better educated in disaster management-related activities. Mr. Speaker, as I said before, there's so many things, so many success stories that I can share. But I would like to note that this, Mr. Speaker, this document is the most in-demand document from the people of Guyana right now. And Mr. Speaker, you know, they say perception is reality, but the beauty of being a human being is that two of us could look at the same picture and see something totally different. Mr. Speaker, I don't see darkness here. I see a well-lit highway recently constructed. In the background, I see a well-lit housing scheme still developing. What appears to be darkness is the reserves that is awaiting the investment the investment by the private sector, the same private sector that you claim not to like. This is a photograph not of darkness. This is a photograph of development. This is a photograph of progress. This is a photograph of the hope that all Guyanese hope for. And Mr. Speaker, I conclude my presentation, and I wish to reiterate that the vision which our PPPC government set forth for Budget 2024 is more than just about numbers. It encompasses the very essence of progress and prosperity for Guyana. Mr. Speaker, Guyana is on a historic journey, and Budget 2024 truly allows us to stay the course as we build prosperity for all Guyanese. The budget serves as our compass. The budget serves as our compass, guiding us towards a brighter and more resilient Guyana. Mr. Speaker, it is important to reflect, to really be able to understand what we inherited and appreciate how far we have come. I've clearly outlined in my presentation the neglect and lack of resources in every sector under my purview when I became Prime Minister in August 2020. And I stand here proudly and confidently able to demonstrate that our government has done what our government has done to turn it all around in order to advance and transform every sector, every region, every community, every Guyanese. That is the PPPC's track record and will continue to be how we push ahead and get things done. Only a person with no vision or lacking the aptitude to understand what this budget, just like the other previous budgets from 2020 to 2023, will do to positively impact this country and our people. Thankfully, a larger percentage of our people are able to grasp the vision and share the same, while, of course, just a smaller percentage will never be able to wrap their heads around something this major. The figure is too big for them, Mr. Speaker. I guess it is no fault of theirs that they simply lack the ability to see the bigger picture and comprehend in order to move past just the gimmicks and rhetoric for the sake of the development of our people and country. Mr. Speaker, Guyana's history will enshrine this moment as a turning point when Guyana embraced its prosperous destiny with courage and conviction. The 1.146 trillion budget is a manifestation of the PPPC's vision for setting Guyana on the global stage. Mr. Speaker, today Guyana prepares itself for a prosperous tomorrow, and I'm confident that under the leadership of our PPPC government, and united as one people and one Guyana, we shall reap a harvest of unparalleled success for Guyana and every one of our citizens. I call on my honorable friends on the other side of the House to join us and support this budget for all of Guyana to move forward with a prosperous future ahead of every single Guyanese, with no one left behind. Get on board, my friends. It is time for you to put politics aside and put our people first, because we must be reminded that each and every one of us is privileged to sit in this honorable house because the people of this country has put their trust in us and elected us to serve, not ourselves, but to serve them. They depend on us to make the right decision, so let us use our power to do the right thing at all costs. Success and prosperity is inevitable, and we in the PPPC will ensure that we remain unwavering and encouraging consistently and engaging consistently with the people all across the country at all levels to push the agenda of the people forward, because this is all about them, the people of Guyana. Finally, let me thank our Minister of Finance, Dr. Ashley Kumar Singh, and his staff, and his wonderful staff, hard-working staff, for putting together this strategic document that will catapult Guyana way into the 21st century. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and may God Almighty continue to bless our nation.